Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Bunsey. If you're new here, thanks for tuning in. In today's video, I'll be making a World 1 unit tier list in hopes that newer or struggling ALS players can take away some of the worthwhile units from this list to improve and progress to get into World 2, while also highlighting some of the positives and negatives of some of these units. Disclaimer, this tier list is my personal opinion. If you disagree, please try to keep it civil in the comments. Also, I will not be taking into consideration World 2 evolutions for these units. This is solely going to be a World 1 unit tier list. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell for future uploads. And if you missed my previous video, that'll be pinned in the corner. I'd appreciate if you checked it out. Let's get on to the video. Let's start with a quick rundown of the tiers for today's video. In the top row, we have the best units. These are going to be the best units of World 1. Some of these can even help you progress a little bit further into World 2. I recommend rolling on pretty much all of these units. The next row down, we have great units. These are solid units that'll help make World 1 progression easier. I would maybe spend a few rolls on some of these characters. Next is the good category. These are okay units that'll put in some decent work in World 1. I'd only roll on these units if you're a little bit stuck. The next category is going to be just started. If you just loaded up the game for the first time, or you're a little bit in, I recommend using these units, and perhaps rolling just a minor trait on them. A legendary or a mythic trait will do just fine. The next category we have are bad units. I'd only get these units if you're really stuck, and it's the only option for you, or that's available on banner. I wouldn't recommend rolling on these characters. The next category we have is trash. These are just bad units that won't ease progression and just waste your resources such as your shards. Don't recommend rolling on any of these characters. The next tier is going to be support characters. These are never a bad choice to have on your team. They provide debuffs, crowd control. I highly recommend getting at least a ranged trait on these characters. And the last category we'll have is going to be banks. These are just the money-making units of World 1. Highly recommending rolling at least a shining or a golden on the minor banks. And then on the best one, of course, try to roll for that entrepreneur glitched. Down here we have all of the units from World 1, excluding a few prevos that don't really matter. We have them organized by rarity, and we are just going to be going in order. Let's start with our first character here. First character is going to be Rare Asta. Asta can be found on any banner, and he is a pretty solid rare unit. Not only does he slow, but he also does become hybrid. I highly recommend if you're just starting the game, picking that unit up. The next unit here is going to be Rare Denji. This unit does not become hybrid, nor does he have any DOT effect. This character is not worth having, and I would put him in the trash category. Next unit here, we have Rare Vegeta. Only good thing about Vegeta is he is a hill unit. Therefore, if you're just starting the game, he is a great unit to have. Next unit here is going to be Rare Luffy. Again, this unit doesn't have any DOT and also does not become hybrid. He's going to go in the trash category. Same with Kirito, Sanji, Sungwoo. Next unit we have here is going to be Nami. Nami is also going to be a hill unit just like Vegeta. Slightly worse damage, so she'll go right underneath him. Next unit here is going to be Rare Goku. This unit also has no DOT and also does not become hybrid, so he's going to go in the trash category. Next unit here we have Rare Ichigo. This unit does become hybrid, therefore he is going to go into the just starting category. Moomin Rider, another rare unit, does not become hybrid, no DOT. He is going to go into the trash category. Next unit here we have Pui Pui Prisoner. This unit does become hybrid, so he's going to go into the just starting category. Next unit here is going to be Rare Zoro. This unit does not become hybrid, however he does have a bleed DOT effect, making him slightly better, but not much. He's still going to go into the trash category, right underneath Denji. Now we get on to our first epic unit and our first bank, Pride Knight. Next unit here, we have Epic Luffy. This unit does not become hybrid, isn't very good. He'll go into the trash category as well. Next unit here is going to be Epic Ichigo. This unit also does become hybrid, therefore he is going to go into the just starting category. The next unit we have here is going to be Epic Sanji. This unit does become hybrid as well as applying a burn DOT. We're going to put him right above Ichigo. Next unit's going to be Epic Tanjiro. This unit does become hybrid. I'd put him right behind Ichigo. Next unit's going to be Sonic Ninja. This unit's not very good, doesn't do very much damage, and also does not become hybrid. We'll put him right underneath Luffy. Next unit we have is going to be our first unit that's going to go into the support category. Rukia applies a freeze DOT, stunning enemies. Onto our first legendary unit here, we have Goku. Legendary Goku is going to be great if you're just starting out the game, as he is a hill unit. Next character we have is going to be Water King. This character isn't very good. He is full AoE, but doesn't become hybrid at all. We'll put him at the top of trash. Next character we have is going to be Uryu from Bleach. He is a hill unit. I'd put him slightly underneath Goku here. Next unit we have is going to be Ukiura. This is a legendary unit that you can get from the Hollow stage, Act 6 in World 1. He's ground only. Not terrible damage, but again, doesn't become hybrid. So we'll put him slightly above Water King. Grimmjow has the same problem. Slightly worse damage. Doesn't become hybrid. We'll put him right underneath Ukiura. Next character we have here is going to be Legendary Luffy. This unit does have a time stop and also inflicts burn. Because he has a time stop, we're going to be putting him in the support category. We'll put him right above Rukia. Next unit is going to be Genya from Demon Slayer. He is ground only, not the best damage. He'll go right underneath Grimmjow here. Next unit we have Zenitsu, legendary. This unit isn't very good, only applies electric DOT, he is ground only. His SPA is quite low, so he can put out decent damage. But again, he's not the best, we'll put him right underneath Ukiura. Next unit we have here is going to be Mecha Frieza. Mecha Frieza is a hill unit, so we'll put him in the just starting category right underneath Uryu. The next unit on our list here is going to be Piccolo. Piccolo is not very good, he's ground only. Doesn't do very much damage. I'm going to place him right underneath Genya here. Next character is going to be Plague Man. This legendary is actually quite good. He does become hybrid, as well as also inflicting poison status effect for another very large DOT. He's going to be another great character. If you're just starting out, I'm going to place him right above Goku. Next unit here is going to be Byakuya. This unit does become hybrid, full AoE bleed. I'm going to put him right underneath Plague Man here. Great character for just starting out. Unlike Byakuya, the Wind Hashira does not become hybrid. He is a full AoE bleed, but again, not super strong. He's going to be our first bad character. Another unit for the bad category is going to be Shinra. Although his damage is pretty good, his AoE circle and his first couple upgrades is single target, meaning he's not going to be able to hit large groups of enemies, and his damage isn't going to be that good. Next unit here is going to be Ippo. Ippo is a legendary ground-only character, however he does slow, so I'm going to be putting him in the support category right underneath Luffy. Another ground-only legendary unit here is going to be Vegeta. Not very much damage. We're going to be placing him right underneath Grimmjow here. Now moving on to our first mythic unit here, we have Gas Hunter. This unit is incredibly strong, only 350 to place, does become hybrid, and is multi-hit, with each attack hitting for 100% of his base damage. He is going to be our first great character. Next unit here is going to be Garo Mythic. This unit is 450 to place, hybrid on placement, as well as doing multi-hit. He is going to be one of the best characters in World 1. Yamamoto is going to be our next unit. He is a ground-only burn character, dealing considerably high damage. He's going to be our first good unit. Next unit we have Zenitsu Evo. This unit is ground-only, dealing electric DOT as well as bleed DOT. However, his damage isn't quite comparable to Yamamoto's, so he's going to go right at the top of the bad category. Our next unit is going to be Ichigo Masked. He is a ground to hybrid bleed unit with a very small cone. He is going to be fairly decent, Not as quite as much damage as Yamamoto, but still a good character. Our next unit here is going to be Swordsman. This unit does become hybrid and inflicts bleed DOT, however, very lackluster damage, not a very good character. We're going to be putting him right above Ukiura in the trash category. Next unit here is going to be Isekai Demon King. This unit is hybrid to start. He inflicts burn and then on later upgrades inflicts cripple. This unit, overall, not too great, but if you're just starting the game, I highly recommend getting him. Next unit here is going to be Natsu. Natsu's not too bad. Ground to start, does become hybrid and inflicts decent burn damage. However, not quite as strong as Yamamoto. I'm just going to be placing him in the bad category, right above Zenitsu. For our next unit here, we have Kawaki. He is ground to start, does later become hybrid and inflicts burn. Not too great of damage. We're going to be putting him right underneath Swordsman in the trash category. Our next unit here, we have Sukuna Evolution. This unit is a very strong, probably one of the strongest mythics in the game. Has a very strong nuke, hybrid on placement, and inflicts the dismantle DOT, allowing him to do very strong damage over time. Mist Dragon is going to be our next unit. She is hybrid on placement, slows, and then on later upgrades becomes a full AoE cripple unit. I'm going to be putting her under the support category, right above Luffy. Genos is going to be our next character. This unit starts as a ground unit, becomes hybrid, and inflicts very strong base damage and burn DOT. He's actually a very strong character. We're going to be putting him in the great category. Our next unit is going to be Tanjiro. Tanjiro is extremely cheap, does become hybrid super early on, and inflicts not only bleed but also the burn status effect. He is going to be a very great unit. Top Choppa is going to be our next unit. This unit does become hybrid, however is lacking a lot of damage. We're going to be placing him right underneath Kawaki in the trash category. Our next unit is going to be Yoruichi. Yoruichi doesn't do any status effect, but she does become hybrid and has fairly good DPS. We're going to be putting her right above Yamamoto in the good category. Next unit is going to be Geezer from One Punch Man. This unit is hybrid to start and hybrid all the way through. Very cheap to place, so if you're a beginner, very good starting unit. Next unit here is going to be Chief Hunter. This unit is ground only, doesn't do very good damage. We're going to be placing him right underneath Top Choppa, and the same applies to Whitebeard. Ground only, not very good damage. We're going to be placing him right above Chief Hunter. Our next unit is going to be our next bank. Finally, we have Speedcart. Speedcart is going to be better than Pride, so he'll go right there underneath the bank category. For our next unit, we have Yami from Black Clover. He is ground only, however on his later upgrades he does have a slow and fairly good DPS, and he's very cheap to upgrade. We're going to be placing him right above Yamamoto in the good category. On to our first Celestial unit, we have Businessman Yojin. This is going to be one of the best banks that you can get in World 1, providing the most amount of money. Itachi Evo is going to be our next Celestial unit. He is hybrid on placement, inflicts burn, and then on later upgrades inflicts the Black Flame DOT. He is going to be at the top of our great category. Apprentice Kai or Zamasu is going to be our next unit. This unit does decent damage, however doesn't become hybrid until his last upgrade. We're going to be putting him right underneath Natsu in the bad category. Next unit here, we have Beast King. This unit is ground only, does become a full AoE bleed, does decent damage, however, not being hybrid, we're going to be placing him right above Natsu in the bad category. Blue Admiral or Aokiji is going to be our next unit. This unit starts ground and then becomes a hybrid full AoE with an incredibly large range and does the freeze status effect. He is going to be one of the strongest supports in World 1. Boku Ultimate is going to be our next Celestial unit. He is a very cheap hill unit, doing decent damage. We're going to be placing him right at the end of the good category. Shinobu from Demon Slayer is going to be our next unit. You get her from the Snowy Village Act 6 raid. She is a ground-only character, inflicting both slow and poison. Fairly good damage. We're going to be placing her right above Yami in the good category. Casca from Berserk is going to be our next unit. Same issue applies to her as with Beast King. She is a ground-only bleed unit. We're going to be placing her right underneath Beast King in the bad category. Next unit is going to be Director General. This unit is obtained from the Tokyo Incident Portals from the last World 1 story map Infinite. He is ground to start, becomes hybrid very early on, and then becomes a full AoE burn character, dealing very strong damage. We're going to be placing him right underneath Tanjiro in the great category. Next unit here is going to be Akaza. You obtain this character from the Infested City Infinite. You have a chance of receiving his portal there. He is ground to start, does become hybrid, and does fairly good damage. He is going to be one of the top characters in the good category. Disciple Witch from Berserk is going to be our next character. She is a freeze unit, however she's ground only and not quite as good as Aokiji. We're going to be placing her right underneath Mist Dragon in the support category. Our next unit is going to be Roy Mustang. He is a hill burn unit, pretty cheap to place. We are going to be putting him right underneath Akaza in the good category. Our next character is going to be Choin from Solo Leveling. He is very cheap to place, does become hybrid in his later upgrades, and does fairly good burn damage. We're going to be putting him in the good category, right above Shinobu. Our next unit is going to be Rengoku. You obtain this unit from Demon Capsules, which you get from playing the Infested City Infinite. He drops at a 0.1% drop chance, very cheap to place, and also hybrid on placement. For our next unit, we have Jotaro, or the game calls him Giga Chad. He is ground only, however he does have a time stop, however it doesn't affect flying units. So we are going to be putting him right above Disciple Witch in the support category. Very similar to Tanjiro, our next unit is going to be Nezuko. She also inflicts burn and bleed status effect. She's a little bit more expensive to place and doesn't get hybrid until a bit later. However, she's still a great unit. Our next unit is going to be Adult Gon. He has very high damage, however, he is ground only. We are going to be placing him right underneath Yami. Only reason I have Yami above him is because Yami also inflicts a slow, meaning he's a little bit more versatile than Gon. Our next unit is going to be one of the next best units in World 1, Green Esper or Tatsumiki. She is 450 to place, applies slow, and is a hill unit. One of the best units in World 1, of course. Our next unit here is going to be Meteor Guard. This unit does become hybrid in his later upgrades, and a full AoE burn. However, his damage isn't as impressive as Director General's, so we are going to be putting him at the top of the bad category. Ice Ice Baby is going to be our next unit. He is a ground to hybrid freeze unit, meaning he's going to be a little bit better than Disciple Witch in the support category. For our next unit here, we have Idol. Idol in her base form is a fairly decent bank, not quite as good as Yojin. However, she does apply a 15% range buff on max upgrade to all allies within her range. Our next unit here is going to be Naruto. Naruto is a high damage, ground only DPS unit. We're going to be placing him right underneath Shinobu. Only reason is I think Shinobu's a little bit more useful since she applies not only poison but also slows enemies. Very similar to Mythic Gas, Light Admiral is a hill unit that applies multi-hit. He is fairly strong. We're going to be placing him right above Shinobu in the good category. For our next unit, we have Mad Tough. This unit does become a full AoE hybrid, however, he doesn't inflict any status effect, unlike Meteor Guard, so we're going to be placing him right in the bad category below Meteor Guard. Our next character is going to be Vesh. This Celestial does not become hybrid, is super cheap to place, but does very bad damage. we're going to be putting him at the top of the trash category. Red Admiral is going to be our next unit. He does become hybrid in his later upgrades and inflicts the burn status effect. However, he doesn't do very much damage. We're going to be placing him right above Yamamoto in the good category. Igris is going to be our next unit. He is ground to start, does later become hybrid and deals bleed DOT. He is a fairly strong unit. We are going to be putting him right below Genos in the great category. Shadow Tanker is going to be our next unit. This unit is hybrid on placement and inflicts the cripple status effect. Very cheap to place. We're going to be placing him right above Tanjiro in the great category. Very similar to the Naruto we put in the good category, Kisame is a ground-only, high DPS unit that also slows. We're going to be placing him right below Shinobu and above Naruto. Our next unit is going to be Gojo. In this evolution, last received a buff during the summer update right before World 2, bumping up his damage quite a bit. He also has a time stop. We're going to be putting him right above Tatsumiki in the best category. A newer addition to World 1 in the Celestial banner is Tengen. This unit was recently released and is available for anyone to pick up in both World 1 and World 2. However, it's quite difficult to evo him while still in World 1. He is ground only, inflicting both Weakened and Bolt. Because he is a World 2 released unit, his damage is fairly large. However, his only downside is pre-evo, he is ground only, but given his high damage, we're going to be putting him in the best category. Our next unit is going to be the Prodigy or Ultimate Gohan. This unit starts hybrid, but then becomes ground only. Not very good, especially since he loses that hybrid. We're going to be placing him at the top of the trash category. Toji from Jujutsu Kaisen is going to be our next unit. This unit does become a full AoE hemorrhage unit with a fairly large range. We're going to be placing him right underneath Nezuko in the great category. Our next unit is going to be Griffith. You obtain this unit from the secret portal from the Berserk Infinite map. He received a buff a few months ago, giving him not only Fear status effect, but also Dismantle, and he is also a full AoE hybrid in his last upgrade. He is, in my opinion, one of the best units in World 1. Majin Vegeta is going to be our next unit. This unit doesn't become hybrid, however, he is one of the first accessible nukes a new player will be able to obtain. He deals 10 times his current damage over 4 seconds, however, it does sell him. But overall, he's not terrible, and if you're just starting out the game and need to kill a tanky boss, he's a good choice. We're going to put him right above Goku in the good category. Our next unit is going to be Giyu from Demon Slayer. This character not only does slow, but also bleeds in a full AoE, and once he's full AoE, he is also hybrid. I'm going to be placing him right underneath Griffith, under the best category. Aqua from Konosuba is going to be our next unit. She becomes hybrid on her later upgrades and also slows. However, she's not quite as good as Mist Dragon, who's hybrid on placement, and since she doesn't have a time stop, we're going to place her right below Jotaro. Our next character is going to be Saber, or King Pendragon. This unit's fairly good, however, very expensive to max upgrade. She does have a nuke on her last upgrade, which deals quite a bit of damage, but given her price, we're going to put her at the top of the great category. Just like Tengen, Whis was also a World 2 unit that was made available in not only Banner 2, but also Banner 3. It's pretty difficult to evo him while still in World 1 since he'll need Essence, but pre-evo he still does fairly good damage. His only downside is he has very short range, but given that he is a World 2 released unit, I'm going to be placing him in the best category just because his damage is very strong. Our next unit down here is going to be Zot from Berserk. This unit is very bad, ground only, doesn't do very much damage. We're going to be placing him right underneath Gohan in the trash category. Our final bank is going to be Best Waifu. You obtain this unit from the AFK chamber. This unit is just a slightly better version of Speed Cart. Overall, Idle and Businessman Yojin are better. Our next unit is going to be Drip Nami. You obtain this unit from Water Park Act 6. She is a fairly strong hill unit that not only deals decent damage, is cheap to place, but also does the shock status effect, making her decent for crowd control. We're going to be placing her at the top of the just starting list, since you can obtain her in the second story mode. Our next unit is going to be Guts Evo. This unit does become a full AoE hybrid. He is a bit expensive, however he does both bleed and hemorrhage status effect in a full AoE. We're going to be putting him right underneath Sukuna in the best category. Our next unit is going to be Wish Dragon. You can obtain this unit from Act 6 of Planet Namek. He is hybrid on placement, dealing okay damage. Overall, not the best unit, but fairly decent. We're going to be placing him right above Igris in the great category. Skull Knight is going to be our next unit. You obtain this unit from Black Swordsman capsules from the Berserk Infinite. He has very high starting damage, does become hybrid a little bit later on. We're going to put him at the top of the good category. Our next unit is going to be Heavenly Chad. This unit drops from Star Mansion Act 6. Very similar to Giga Chad, however his time stop lasts a little bit longer and also affects flying units unlike Giga Chad. Our next unit here is going to be Ice Elf Emperor. You get this unit from Act 6 of the solo leveling story mode. This unit does become hybrid later on and a cripple unit, dealing decent damage. We're going to be placing him right underneath Skull Knight in the good category. Our next unit is going to be Shanks. Much like Guts, he is fairly expensive and doesn't become hybrid until his later upgrades. However, he does inflict both poison and the Conquered status effect, meaning he does good damage and good crowd control. We're going to be placing him right above Griffith in the best category. Our next unit is going to be Android 21. This unit does decent damage, does become hybrid a bit later on, however, is a bit lackluster. We're going to be putting her right underneath Yoruichi in the good category. For our next unit, we have Pain. You can obtain this unit from the Leaf Village Raid Act 6. He does become full AoE, however he doesn't have any status effect on his last upgrade, but he does very strong damage. We're going to be placing him right above Gas in the great category. Our next unit is going to be Saitama. Saitama is an incredibly strong unit with a very strong nuke that can wipe out almost any boss in World 1. We are going to be putting him at the top of the best category. Our next unit is going to be Golden Admiral. You obtain this unit from the Marines Forward Raid Act 6. On his Evo, he does become hybrid on placement, as well as dealing both Fear and Cripple status effect, with some fairly good damage. We're going to be placing him right underneath Pain in the great category. Our next unit is going to be Metal Knight. This unit can be obtained in Banner 2 as an ultimate unit. Sadly, no pity on this unit. However, if you do get him, he is a 450 placement cost hill unit, dealing decent damage. He is going to be at the top of our good list. Next unit we're going to be taking a look at is going to be Fused Warrior. This is the evolution of Majin Vegeta and Boku Ultimate. This unit is very expensive, dealing decent damage. We're going to be placing him right above Skull Knight in the good category. Our next unit is going to be Garp. You can obtain this unit from Water Park Act 6 on a 125 pity. He does become hybrid on his later upgrades and deals fairly decent damage, as well as being multi-hit. We're going to place him right underneath Fused Warrior in the good category. Next unit is going to be Sungwoo Winter. This unit has infinitely stacking damage with his Soul's passive, and has a variety of different status effects as he upgrades. Very strong unit, very good DPS, and I'd say one of the best units of World 1, right underneath Saitama. For our last unit here, we have Cha-Hei. She's a fairly strong unit that you can obtain on Banner 2 as an ultimate unit. Sadly, no pity on her, very similar to Metal Knight. However, she's very strong and does become full AoE hybrid on her last upgrade. We're going to be placing her right underneath Golden Admiral in the Great category. And that is going to complete the tier list for World 1. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, leave a comment, leave a like, I would really appreciate it. And let me know as well what kind of content you guys would like to see next. This has been Bunsey. Hope you guys have a great day.